Right. Thank you, members of the committee and council, for your indulgence. We are joined by the folks from the Emergency Communications Center, Director Dwayne Phillips. If you would introduce those with you, please, sir.
Okay, on my left, I have...
Whoop, sorry. You're on now. You're on now.
Okay. On my left, I have Assistant Director Michelle Peterson. She's the Assistant Director over Operations. On my right, Dwayne Vance. He's the Finance Officer for Emergency Communications. In the audience, we have Captain Tim Watkins. He's the Technology Manager. And Mark Lynham is the Finance Director for Emergency District, ECD.
Thank you all for being here. The threshold question is, can you operate within the mayor's proposed budget?
Yes, sir, we can.
And then the floor is yours to talk about the issues that face you and the good folks that work with you.
Okay, I just want to brag on our department for a minute. The Emergency Communications Center received over 1.1 million calls in 2013, consisting of 350,000 911 calls and over 600,000 862-8600 calls. Emergency Communications Center had only 29 complaints filed with that 1.1 million calls, and only 15 of those were founded. The results of the November survey conducted by the Prince Market Research Company shows that 92% of the callers were very satisfied or satisfied with the way their call was handled, and 97% said that the call taker was courteous. Besides those telephone calls, we also made 1.5 million entries into the computer-aided dispatch system. The Emergency Communications Center this past year implemented the automatic CAD voice system known as Locution for fire and medical dispatching. The technology group won the Tennessee APCO Award for Team of the Year. We had one employee, Michelle Naval, receive the Smart Save Award from Rave Mobility for her use of the Smart 911 profile to save a life. Using emergency medical dispatch protocols in 2013, we were contributed with saving 12 lives by doing CPR and delivered 9 babies over the telephone. We've also installed a new telephone system called the Viper system by Intrado, and that puts us in line for the next generation 911 platform, which as soon as the state gets all their process done, we will be able to receive text messages from 911 and eventually pictures and video clips. Now I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you. In your information that you provided us, you stated it's a funding reduction of $118,000, but that is internal service fees, is it not, like all the other departments?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thanks. Councilwoman Berry.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for being here. I appreciate it. I just have one question. I noticed that on your budget employees versus actual number of positions filled, there is a 12 number gap there. Can you spend a minute talking about that, and are those real positions that you're actually trying to hire for?
Yes, but presently we only have 6.
So 6 of those have already been filled?
6 of those have been filled, and we have a class planned for July, a new class to fill those other positions. But with the stress of this job and the 1 year it takes to get somebody fully trained, and the salaries, I guess, with all the computer and technology that we have to work with, it's just hard to fill them. We get people come in and then they decide that's not for them, and then they leave.
What is your turnover? Do you know?
I do. I think it's 15% this year. 9% this year, but it has been a lot higher than that.
So 9%. Do you know how that relates to other communities our size? Is that about, is our turnover more or less?
This career field is extremely high for that, and I think right now we're doing a little bit better than other places, but 4 or 5 years ago we were not. We were doing about 20%, and that was about the average.
Well, it's good to know that you're there at the other end of the phone, so thank you for all you do. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Councilman Anthony Davis.
Thank you, Chair, and I appreciate all the very important work you guys do. I want to hear a little more about that texting 911 thing. Sounded very interesting. Is it part of a new entire software rollout we're doing, or is it just a new feature that we're adding, and how would that work? And it seems like you might get a lot of, even more spam than I'm sure you get the calls that aren't useful. How would that process work for you guys?
Okay, it's a complicated technology issue, but Tennessee is going to be one of the first states to have it completely across the state, and they're doing the backbone part of it now with AT&T, called 10net, and I believe the schools across the state are now using that for their computers. But we will have a completely private, not using commercial lines, to have that kind of digital technology. Now, we've also already have the equipment in our center for when it goes online. I know you've heard a lot about text to 911 recently, and the FCC having to make sure that the commercial carriers have that capability now. The big issue is, for years, they didn't make any money off of it, so they didn't have that going to PSAPs, public safety answering points. So, but now they have to have it, but basically what they have to have is the fact that if you're in a jurisdiction that doesn't accept it, when you dial 911 on your cell phone, it'll tell you that they don't accept 911 calls from text. So that's all they're required to have at this time. But eventually, by 2016, we should be fully up and operational, but by the end of this fiscal year, we'll be seeing some of the text to 911 coming into our center.
And someone texts you, then is your policy then to immediately call them, or like how would you handle a call from there?
Well, it'll pop up like our TDY, similar to that we use now for the hearing impaired.
Okay.
So our computers are set up that we'll be able to text right back to them.
Okay.
But let me point out, we really need people to call if they're able to call, because we can get a whole lot more information a lot faster if they just dial 911 rather than trying to text.
Sure. Okay.
And we will not be able to use any abbreviations, because everybody doesn't use the same abbreviations. That'll cause a new thing.
Right. Just kind of curious, because I thought that could be wrought with some issues, but as long as you guys have a handle on it, I trust you. So.
And the other big issue too is the location. Right now from the cell phone, we can tell where you are in about the size of a football field. Mm-hmm. But with this new digital system coming on board, first off, you won't have as many calls going to the wrong jurisdiction like we've had in the past on the surrounding areas. I know I talk to Doug Pardue all the time, because I live out in Goodlettsville, and there's some places out there where when it hits the tower, it goes to Gallatin instead of to us.
Right.
But with this new digital system, we're having to redo all the maps and digital, so we'll be able to tell where you are within a 5-meter radius.
Well, with mobile websites, we can pinpoint, I know, like exact location, not necessarily the tower. So yeah, I assume that technology would be there. The only other thing I was going to ask was just on your, and I think Council Lady Berry was asking about this, about the strategic issues you had. Your attrition is high because of the salary. Is the compensation study, going to help you guys as far as like coming up with what the right numbers are that you should, be paying folks? Or
I haven't seen the study, but I'm going to lean to the fact that it will not. I think they were using a study done by Atlanta for the most part. Mm-hmm. We are unique here in Nashville, Davidson County. We have a separate department. We're not part of the police. We're not part of the fire. We dispatch to police, fire, and EMS, and we cover the whole county, and we do these pre-arrival instructions for both fire and medical. So we call ourselves a consolidated center. Sometimes when you talk to other places that have consolidated center, that means that they've combined 2 counties together, but they just transfer the call to the sheriff's department or the police department or ambulance service or whoever they're transferring it to. So we're a little bit different than most of the places in the country, which is speedier, faster for our citizens.
Sure. Well, I guess then, maybe we should take a look at that before, next year's budget, and just think about, obviously, we'd want you to bring to the table what you feel like the position should be paid and that sort of thing. So I just wanted to bring it up because you had it on your issues and, wanted to get your opinion on that. So thank you.
Councilman Tigert.
Just to follow up to Councilman Davis's question, what's the average demographic age-wise of your employees?
I don't know. We've had a few that's been here for a long time, but a whole lot of them that haven't been here very long. But
Do you recruit young people, middle-aged people?
we recruit anybody who can pass the tests.
Would you say that this is a career that young people are not interested in?
Well, usually if they have a lot of the skills that are required, they're going to some place that, private sector.
Because we've heard departments, mention that, even with the health insurance benefits and the pension benefits, young people, the mobility, they don't expect this to be their lifelong ambition, and they don't care about that. They're more interested in salary type thing.
Yeah, and a lot of the classes I've been to, that's exactly what they talk about. This generation will have 6 or 8 or 10 jobs in their career, where back when we were growing up, we found one, and we stuck with it.
Sure.
And definitely when I do orientation, I tell them about the benefits that the city has, Nashville, Davidson County has, and they're just magnificent compared to a lot of places that.
Absolutely. It looks like last year you had a $471,300 grant as part of your budget, the best I can tell. What was that?
That's probably the ECD board's contribution. That's not a grant.
Okay, that's the other government agency, but this year it's zero?
It's the same amount.
Okay, I guess I'm looking at a different page there.
That money comes from 911 fees.
Okay, all right, so that's stable based on number of units out there then?
Well, I'll say it's stable. The state government is doing a lot of changing the law, so I don't know what they're going to do, but we think it's going to be stable.
Okay, thank you.
It depends on the state legislature.
Councilwoman Gilmore.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Chief, for being here. I had a question about how the calls are dispatched. If you could just tell me a little bit about that process. So when an 862-8600 call comes in, and if someone needs the police or fire, how does that work from your end?
Okay. Well, if you call 911 or 862-8600, we answer both those calls. Our telephone system is fixed so that we will answer the 911 calls first. And then those call takers enter the information into the CAD, computer-aided dispatch, and that system automatically sends it to the police dispatcher that's working that particular position. That dispatcher, and it also prioritizes the calls according to the way the police department wants them prioritized. And then they are dispatched to the cars according to...
Excuse me, Chief. Folks, please let's stay together, please. Thank you, Chief. Continue on.
They're dispatched according to the way the police department wants them.
Well, thank you.
Okay.
I appreciate
Lower
that.
priorities are sent to the district, the precinct. The highest priorities are sent to the closest car.
Okay, thank you so much. And I think it's wonderful that you had 1 million something calls and only 20 something complaints. So congratulations to you and your staff.
Thank you.
Councilman Bedney, do you want to be recognized? You're up if you want to sit down.
I'm trying to remember what is that I wanted to ask. This is embarrassing. Well, sorry, you're doing a great job. Oh, I remember now. I think you and I talked before about us being able to send you emails with emergency situations. I wonder if there is a way to get a contact person just for the council. I know you don't want to receive emails from people at large, but if any of the council members were to have a need to contact or to relay an emergency to somebody, it will be easier for us if we could just forward an email to a contact person at your department.
Because of security reasons, we don't have internet in our communications center. So if it was after hours, you wouldn't be able to email us. You know, the administrative staff has email, and it's a government email, so you have access to it.
Well, if you could, I don't know if that's at all possible, but sometimes we'll get an email, and I just don't want that email to get buried under other emails. If I could forward it to somebody, it's sometimes an email is probably not an emergency, but it's something that needs to be looked at. So if I could have a contact, I think probably everybody here would like to be able to do that.
Well, you can always email myself or Assistant Director Peterson. We answer all our emails.
I didn't mean to imply you don't. I apologize.
No, I didn't. I was, but we will answer your email, and we'll follow up on all the emails that we get.
All right. So thank you.
And we're both in the system.
Thank you,
Chief,
sir.
let me suggest that if you would make sure that that information for you gets to Ms. Waller, then she can transmit that to all council members.
Okay.
To make sure that they have it.
We can do that.
And thank you very much, and thank you all for the good work you do.
Thank you.
Sheriff?